friends, today's card is a variation of a card that I made a few years ago. And I have an updated version of this card using current product from Stampin' Up. I love how it turned out. So the first thing you're going to notice is this beautiful die. This is from our new Be Mine stitched framelit dies. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. Lovely lipstick. I'm really digging this color. It's beautiful. And this measures 11 by 4 1/4. The stamp set I'm using is called Itty Bitty Greetings, and I love this stamp set. And I'm also using the classic label punch. So this is an easy card to do. So the first thing to do is to run the die through the Bake Shot, and I've got my magnetic platform, my plate. I've centered the die onto my cardstock. Now I've got my second plate on top, and I'm going to run this through. This is a very intricate die, so I like to kind of go back and forth a couple of times, but these dies do cut out really well. Okay, all these little bits and pieces I want to pop out. And when you turn it over, if you ever notice that some of it hasn't cut through, run it back through the Bake Shot this side up instead of like this. Put it back on your Bake Shot this side up and give it another run through, and it will cut through any little bits that haven't been cut. So now I've got my my foam, and I'm just going to rub all those little bits and pieces out. So anything that hasn't popped out, I'm just going to push through. Oh my gosh, isn't that gorgeous? Love it. And I love this tool. This is a great tool. I've showed it before on my channel here. Okay, so there it is, all cut. Okay, so I've got my Bake Shot back. This time I'm using my multi-purpose platform because I'm going to use my Swirls and Curls embossing folder. Okay, so I've got my cardstock in the embossing folder. Oh, let's make our little sandwich with the plates here. Okay, just gonna run that through. So now we've got beautiful texture. You want to make sure that if you're doing any die cutting, you run it through the Bake Shot before you do the embossing folder, because otherwise it's going to push down that raised image. So do your die cutting first and then run it through the embossing folder. So I am going to simply glue this on to my card base. Now actually, before I glue that on, I want to take a little bit of my linen thread, and I'm just lining it up on the center, and I'm going to fold that over and then position this onto the card front. So now I'm going to glue this on the inside of that. I could have used my multi-purpose adhesive sheets behind the cardstock before I ran this through, so it would already have that adhesive behind it. But another trick that I like to do, and it's just as easy, is I have a piece of computer paper and squeeze a little bit of glue onto it, and then I have a little piece of our Stampin' Sponge, and this is what I keep aside just for doing my sponging with the glue. Okay, move that twine out of the way, and I'm just gonna line this up and pop it right back in. Is that gorgeous or what? It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up a glue dot and scrunch it up a little bit, and I'm putting it right here in the center, and pull this down and push it in. And trim it. Okay, and we're going to come back to this in a second. I'm going back to the Big Shot. This is the next die I want to cut out, and I'm using gold foil cardstock. So as you can tell, I've used it for other things, but I never throw these bits and pieces out because look, this fits in here perfectly. So I thought instead of cutting a brand new piece, I would just show you how I use up all my little bits of leftover cardstock. So run this through. Isn't that gorgeous? That's actually one of my favorite dies from the whole Be Mine stitch dies. I love them all. Okay, so grabbing a dimensional. This is going to go right on the center of the heart. Right about there. Now I'm going to make a bow with my linen thread. So I'm holding it down with my thumb, wrapping it around twice, putting in my third finger, wrapping it around twice, and then cutting. So when you slide it off, you see you've got two different circle sizes. So you're just going to pull those down in the center and twist this around. Grab another piece of thread. And wrap it around the center a couple of times. And then tie those ends together. And if it's not quite in the center, you can slide it down and tie a knot. Okay, I'm going to trim these ends. And then what you do is you just pull all these little circles out. And just play with it a little bit. And there you go. Pretty little bow. So I'm going to take another glue dot, stick it behind this. Maybe I'll take two. And then this goes right on, right here where the other glue dot is. Isn't that pretty? So for the center, I think I'm going to use a pearl. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to show you a variation I did on this card earlier this morning, and I will say I tried different embellishments and bigger embellishments, and personally I think it needs to be a little bit more on the dainty side, so that's why I went with the tinier pearl. So now it's time to add our sentiment, and I'm actually going to use the For You. This card is for our friend and neighbor who's in the hospital with cancer and not doing well. So we are going to visit her today, so this card is going to be for her. So I've got my For You on my block. I got a little scrap of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm using the Lovely Lipstick ink pad. So I'm just pushing on the top to open it, ink it up. Okay, and taking my punch, just gonna line that up, and I'm putting it more to the right because I'm gonna have it coming this way. And now I'm putting it back into the punch so that I can flag it. There's my perfect little flag. And then trim it on the end. Now I'm just cutting a dimensional in half. We have mini dimensionals, but I'm actually out of them. And there is my finished card. I really love this card layout, and I just think it's gorgeous. Now let me show you the silver one that I made earlier today. And instead of the pearl, I added a small rhinestone. And I just think they're beautiful. And I use the Forever and Always. So that is probably going to my sweetheart. Now, if you want to add a little extra shimmer, you can take our Champagne Shimmer Mist Paint, which is this right here. And then I just go to the dollar store and buy 70% rubbing alcohol, shake this up, and then I just pour a few drops inside of this and shake it. And then after it's shaken really well, I mist it on cardstock. And if it's not quite as shimmery as I like, then I add a little bit more of this. So I actually have this in a bigger container because I'm kind of hardcore with this Champagne Shimmer Mist. So I'm gonna spray it on. And I'm just going to dab it off of that foil cardstock. Now, let's see if the light from the camera picks it up. It's very sparkly, very shimmery, super pretty. So I hope you enjoyed today's cards. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping.